Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Ugler, and I am here with my colleague,
Millie Prothero.
and we're here today to welcome you to our first episode of our Budcast, GPS for Leaders. And we're going to do a little refresher on GPS for Leaders, and we hope it reminds you of some of the stuff that we've done before. Most of you who are listening are graduates. So again, we hope it's a good refresher. If you're not a graduate, it's okay. We hope you will come attend GPS for Leaders soon. So today we're going to dive into Unit 1.
Yep.
Tell us a little, give us a little intro on Unit 1.
Oh, okay. I'd love
Why
to.
not?
So
Yeah. What
I,
is
I'm
it?
a I'm a big fan of GPS, and I had the honor of facilitating after I drank the Kool-Aid and joined our GPS session with Corey. And I think this is a great introduction to kind of laying the foundation for the units ahead. And the core philosophy in Unit 1 is the manager as an environmental creator. So kind of we've talked a lot about, if you remember from your GPS experience, creating the conditions for the success of your team. And Unit 1 really kind of digs into that using Kurt Lewin's formula that behavior is a function of the individual and their environment. So that's a really interesting thing to think about. Sometimes people do things we don't understand why they do them, but there's communication in behavior, and we have to think about the factors that cause that. So thinking about what environmental factors within your team or within the role that that person has at the organization, what is that communicating to you, and how can you maybe make an impact if those behaviors aren't aligning with the goals that you have. So Corey, how would you rate your current effectiveness?
I would say I am doing okay. Would I say I'm doing great? Well, I mean, I think it's very common for people to feel like they have imposter syndrome. So to be honest, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a great job. Um, I'm probably doing a better job than I'm giving myself credit for. But I do think the idea of being an environmental creator for those who report to you or those who you're working on with projects is essential. And it's hard to do, but I think creating a like psychological framework for understanding a manager's roles and responsibilities is really important. And I want to encourage everyone listening to try and think of themselves as environmental creators.
Yeah, I think, we have to recognize the things that are within our control and the things that aren't. And you might not be able to change your employees' personality or their values, but you do have control over the work environment and your conduct and how you're coaching them to be successful. So by changing your own strategy, and the way that you relate to your employees, I think you can really make a big impact in their outputs.
And those of you who've done GPS might remember that we did some activities that compared your managerial behavior to your managerial attitudes. And we didn't do this to have a gotcha. We did this because we wanted you to have your own insight into um, how you think about people versus how you're treating them or trusting them. And I think it's a great way to shift or delegate responsibilities to people in a responsible way and to start allowing people to be coached up.
Mm-hmm.
So you may remember that. That was called Managerial Behavior Questionnaire and your Theory X and Y scale.
And just as a reminder, Theory X assumes that people are naturally lazy, avoid responsibility, and lack ambition. Theory Y assumes that work is as natural as play, and that under the right conditions, people will actively seek responsibility and exercise high levels of creativity. So we kind of plotted out where we fall on that scale. And I think a lot of people are sort of a mix of both. But it also was eye-opening, I think, for some of us to realize maybe that we were passing judgments on the folks that we manage. And your mindset is everything. And if you're sort of assuming the worst of people, it kind of shows a lack of trust. Your employees might feel that they're being micromanaged sometimes, and they feel that their supervisor doesn't trust them to do the work. Or maybe we're making assumptions that they understand the expectations better than they actually do. So it's always, I think, really thought-provoking to dig into that a little bit and see how your mindset is impacting the way you're operating as a manager.
Yeah, so if you're having some issues or disconnect between what you think people should be doing and what they're doing, or your perception of what they're doing, maybe go back to those activities, those tool sheets, and see maybe what you're thinking about this employee. Now, another thing that we did in this unit was the managerial responsibility self-assessment, and those were 15 managerial responsibilities that we asked you to rate yourself and see if you're doing. And then in GPS, we recommended that you go ask your employees which of these are important to you today, because nobody can do all 15 at once. And those 15 are not even the full range of what a manager is responsible for, but it was a good start to find out what your employees need from you.
Yeah, and I think the managerial technical split, thinking about the things that you're actively doing, and then the things that you're coaching others to do or delegating, is something that we constantly have to check ourselves on, especially the more tenure your team has and the more experience they have under their belt. They're going to increase their independence level, and they're going to require a different type of leadership from you. So it's not sort of this stagnant thing that you diagnose early on. It's something, as new team members join, as you cultivate the skills in your team, you have to reassess those things and make adjustments to get the best out of everyone.
And then I think there were two more distinctions that we made in this unit. One was we asked you to share what were your 3 managerial challenges. So I want to remind those who did it that, I hope you're going back to those challenges and seeing if any of these tools can help you solve them, not just the tools from Unit 1, but also the tools for the subsequent unit. And the final distinction we talked about in this unit was trust, and how important it is to build trust with those you work with. One of the things that I shared a lot with was something someone in our earlier workshop said that his dad would say, which is, trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. And that goes, for everyone in your life. That's not a surprise, but certainly with those you work with, you really need to know, as an employee, who has your back, and as a manager, it's important to have your staff's back and just be honest with them and build that trust.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you'll hear echoed throughout our GPS experience is that you create the conditions, which it seems very obvious, but I think it's something that we constantly need to remind ourselves of when we find ourselves in really challenging circumstances and you feel maybe out of control and you feel anxiety or fear. Knowing that your team probably feels those same emotions, and you as a leader can create an environment that will put them at ease and help them strategize out of any challenge. And sometimes we can't control different factors, but remembering the things that you can control helps you be the pilot and not the turbulence for your team.
I love that term. I think I have it written on my wall. Yeah. Okay, well, I just want to say to anyone listening, if you want us to address an issue, just email us, Corey and Millie. Put Budcast in the subject line so we know. Well, thanks, Millie. Thanks for
Corey.
joining me. You think, are we going to wear purple shirts all the time?
I think, I have enough polos to wrap around the earth twice, so just don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, we will see you at our next podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in.